Good afternoon again. We would like to start our press conference. ISS 3435 expeditions. Allow me to introduce you the crew members. Roman Romanenko, commander for Soyuz Soyuz TMA, flight engineer for ISS 3435, Roscosmos, Russia. Chris Hadfield, flight engineer for Soyuz and commander for Expedition 3435. Tom Marshburn, flight engineer 2 for Soyuz and flight engineer Expedition 3435, NASA, United States. Backup crew, commander for Soyuz, Fyodor Yurchikin, and flight engineer for Expedition 3435, Roscosmos, Russia. Luca Parmitano, flight engineer for Soyuz and flight engineer for Expedition 3435, ESA, Italy. Karen Nyberg, flight engineer 2 for Soyuz and flight engineer for Expedition 3435, NASA, United States. Dear friends, according to the resolution of the Joint Commission, we will hear the report from Mr. Krikolov, the head of GCTC. We have reviewed the results of training and the examinations that the crews took. We made the decision that the crew has passed successfully all their examinations and examination training and simulations. They have completed the training course for Soyuz and for the Russian segment of the ISS. The crew is prepared for flight and is cleared to continue their preparation for flight at Baikonur. This decision was made less than an hour ago. And the crew is scheduled to fly to Baikonur on December 6th. Okay, please, questions for the crew? Please. RIA Novosti. My question is traditional for all crew members of the Prime Crew. Many of you have flown in space before. Who will be selecting your weightlessness indicator and what interesting items are you selecting? Thank you for your question. Traditionally, it is true that the Prime Crew, all space crews that fly to the ISS, always select the weightlessness indicator that they keep in their area. I have an idea. I want to bring a small toy dog from the Russian television show for children. I don't imagine that there will be objections from my fellow crew members to use that toy as a weightlessness indicator. As far as other items are concerned, we normally bring letters with us, maybe Christmas cards and small family tokens. Any other ones? No, there is only one weightlessness indicator. Everybody knows that. You said that you're bringing letters. Are they going to be paper letters or maybe on a memory stick? Well, of course, those will be paper letters. And then the crew will be receiving more letters, paper letters, with other visiting vehicles. Podmoskovsky television station. My name is Tatiana. My traditional question: what do you expect from the current flight? As you said, this is not our first flight. We are very lucky to have flown in space before. I've been many years ago. I flew to the Mir space station, and now I got another chance to fly in space. This is excellent. But Roman will probably agree with me. This time is different because this time we'll have time. We'll have the time to observe the Earth. We'll have the time to experience new situations, and that is something new for us. We spent a lot of years here on Earth, but we didn't spend much time in space. And so this is new. This is exciting, and we know that this time we'll have the chance to experience space to a greater degree. Well, as the guys are preparing to answer this question, I can tell you that the difference is huge between a short duration flight and a long duration flight. So they will feel the difference, and I'm a little jealous, just in a certain sense. On the one hand, it will be difficult and challenging. On the other hand, it will be very exciting. Okay? Российский Космос newspaper, please. Yes, you have a busy schedule. First of all, I saw that on your schedule you have station outfitting. What does that mean? And also, if there are any EVAs who will be performing then? And in addition to the experiments that we have already seen, are you planning to do anything new? Yes. During our flight, we will be performing new experiments for the US segment and for the Russian segment. Mostly, we will be taking outside the new equipment for the scientific experiments outside the station. We'll put out the new antenna, and we will collect the results from the previous experiments that have been exposed to space, maybe for a year or more, outside the ISS, and bring it back inside so that on the ground the scientists can study the effect of weightlessness and of direct space on various materials, and possibly the impact from the thruster firing as well. As far as the fundamental basic scientific experiments, we always perform them. Over half is medical and biological experiments that are being conducted continuously. And we study the results continuously. As far as new experiments are concerned, we have geophysics experiments, medical experiments, which is based on an old medical experiment, but new and improved, where we will be studying the functionality of a human body in space. Also, there will be a number of US and Canadian and European experiments and Japanese ones. So I will not have enough time to list all of them. So maybe Tom will wish to add something. We're not sure, but it is possible that Chris and I will be working together outside. We have a lot of work ahead of us in general, so we'll see how things pan out for us. Now, for scientific experiments, we have a lot of them. I think 130 or so. I'm a physician, so for me as a medical professional, it's interesting to study blood and bone tissue, cardiovascular effects. That would be very interesting for me. I'm looking forward to performing all the physics experiments as well. Thank you very much. Next question. How are you going to spend your free time? And I heard that you are all into music. Are you bringing any musical instruments with you? Maybe a harmonica or maybe even a guitar? Well, actually, on board of the ISS, we already have a guitar, which allows crew members to enjoy their free time with music. We have this capability, and that is great. And it is true that we're all musicians in a sense, and so we are hoping to enjoy music in our spare time. I am bringing a harmonica with me, and I'm hoping to learn how to play at least the basics of it to create a joyful atmosphere on board of the ISS. Okay, thank you very much. Can I add a few words? One word that Roman said, that the guitar is traditionally on board. Well, if you remember the traditions, then the first time a guitar was delivered during ISS Expedition 2, Yuri Romanenko and Alexander Malavetkin, that was the beginning of the second expedition to the Mir station. They were scheduled to be in space almost 11 months. And in order to provide psychological support, a guitar was delivered. It was a whole production as to how to deliver that. The guitar, they wanted to make sure that the vibration and the launch loads will not damage the instrument. So they had to loosen the strings and tighten them. And the story was very interesting because Alexander Lavekin was a good guitar player. And Yuri Romanenko was the father of Roman Romanenko, and he taught him how to play the guitar in space. And throughout his space flight, he actually composed a few songs. So even to this day, when cosmonauts get together, sometimes they play and sing those songs. So this is a long tradition. And so here we would like to talk about dynasty. So this is the Romanenko dynasty. Yes, but also I wanted to point out that I'm from Canada, and I'm bringing something from Canada. And a guitar, if you look at it, I will show you. I'm not sure how you call it, how you say this in Russian, but I got something that will allow me to play the guitar with the name of our flight. I've played the guitar when I was on board of the ISS. This is a big part of our life. That is not why we're in space, but this is a large and enjoyable part of our flight. It's a very human thing to do. And so I am confident that we will make music a large part of our flight. Thank you very much.
Mr. Romanenko, you've been in space with the Canadians before. Is it a doom or a blessing?
You know, I'm still not sure what happened. Must be fate, because it's true that I flew with a Canadian Space Station representative, Canadian Space Agency representative in space last time. So you specialize in Canada. Well, I guess they fly often. What can I say? Chris, about an hour ago, was telling us how they don't fly in space very often, and I would say they do fly often. But I have been fortunate to fly in space with the representatives from different countries. And Canadians are great people, great to work with, and I think it's very good that we are an international crew who will be working together on board of the ISS. Thank you. My question is for Chris and Thomas. Soyuz is a new vehicle for you. How difficult was it for you to learn the technology? And what can you say about the work of the training personnel, the people who prepared you for flight? Yes, it is a Russian vehicle, so I guess I'll have to respond in Russian. And so the most difficult and the most important step was actually learning the language. I first studied Russian 19 years ago when I started with the ABCs. And to fly to space on Soyuz, you have to know Russian. So. I've flown twice on the shuttle, and I have flown a lot of aircraft. So I can tell you that this is a good vehicle, well-tested vehicle, and I am fortunate to be a left-seater. It's a great chance for me. I can say that this is my dream come true. This is a robust vehicle. It's been flown so many times. When I was a child, I already read about this vehicle in National Geographic, and never could I imagine that I will be inside of it and flying. Well, again, they learned a lot more than they read originally in National Geographic. They did study the vehicle. So you said that they composed music in space. Do you think that for the Moon and Mars generation we need to have new music composed? And are you planning to do so?
I grew up listening to beautiful harmonies and folk music and music that tells a story. And so for me, even though I like lots of different types of music, to me that's kind of the very heart of music. And often folk music is written to describe something new in the human experience, whether it's the first sailors that left the site of land, or the first people that worked in a new place, or someone that was experiencing something new in the human experience. And so for us to have a chance, not only through photographs and writing, but to try and record the newness of this experience to humanity, to try and record it in a different art form, which is music, to me it's important. And so I've partially written some songs here on Earth to make sure that if time is short, I have time to finish them on orbit. But my intent is to finish and record those songs on orbit, just as we will take photographs on orbit and write about it, but also to in that amazing recording studio without gravity to try and start to understand this newness of the human experience.
So maybe when people they go to Mars or Moon, they will play your songs. Have you ever think about it?
I hope so. I'm not a professional songwriter. I'm working with a professional songwriter in Canada. A song that we through a program called Coalition for Music Education that will be in schools all across Canada that we'll be recording on orbit. But I will do my best to try and express the experience so that people will want to, when we start leaving Earth to go even further, that those songs will be a natural way to express what it's like and what it means to us.
Thank you very much again. And then Cosmonautics News. Yes, has been a decision made recently for the 1 year long duration flight to the ISS. So my question is, for Fyodor, what do you think of such long flights, and do you think that the ISS is prepared? It's a very serious question. I'm not sure I'm the right person to ask that question. Sergei might have more to say on the subject, since he was the one who was asked at some point to stay another expedition on board. So he would probably be the best person to ask this question, especially taking into account his experience on board of Mir. Now, as far as my personal opinion is concerned, I would say that if we have the objective of staying on board for 1 year, that is justified by the overall goals of the program, then we'll support. I'm sure everybody will agree with me. And I know that our management understands all the implications when they make this decision. We have flown in space before with a stay on board for 1 year. So again, it's all driven by the tasks. And I know that right now they are working to ensure that this flight makes sense in terms of the duration and that we have enough work to occupy our time. So again, I would like to readdress this question to Sergei. It is true that this decision has been made, and there is a list of possible participants that has been published already. And I would agree, again, that we have the long-duration spaceflight experience. Yuri Romanenko, again, stayed on board for 11 months. Titov and Manarov were in space for 1 year, and actually it was a leap year, so it was an extra day. So 1 year duration flights themselves have been performed before. Now, of course, we have more statistics and better equipment. We understand better what happens to a human body. So this experiment can give new data. This flight will not occur until 2015, so we have time to prepare both from the Roscosmos side and from the NASA side. We are discussing the prospects for this flight and also the possible schedule for the flight.
For NASA TV,
Thank you very much.
Tom Marshburn, in addition to all the scientific experiments you'll be doing on board during your mission, can you talk about some of the day-to-day activities you'll be doing on board for maintenance of the ISS and what you're looking forward to the most?
Well, we have quite a bit of maintenance to do. However, our goal is going to be getting that done as efficiently as possible, so we can spend as much time on the scientific experiments as we can. And the station requires some maintenance, so we'll be doing that. We'll be maintaining our bodies as well. A fair amount of time spent doing physical exercise, both cardiovascular and muscle. And you know, the space station is the largest power supply that's ever been put into space. As well as a water recycling center, it's almost an entirely closed system. We rely on all of this for our lives, but we're also learning a lot about how to build a future spacecraft that can maintain people without resupply for a long period of time. A lot of that technology is benefit to the Earth, coming down to the Earth as well, but we'll be maintaining that system as well.
Thank you. Colleagues, Podmoskovy television station, television channel. For the backup crew, are you prepared to take the place of the prime crew? Well, God forbid. I will let my flight engineer respond. I do not. Well, the Commission has decided that we are well prepared. So God forbid something should happen, we will be prepared, but it will be better to wait until it's our turn to fly as a prime crew. Today is not our day. Today it's not about us. What is important is that the prime crew is ready. We look at them as the shining example of preparedness, and if we must, we will, but hopefully we won't have to.
I think certainly if unfortunate circumstances required that we launch this month, we would certainly be ready to go. But I'm very much looking forward to launching on time next spring, and definitely will be ready by then.
You have heard our official opinion. Now I'll tell you about a small tradition that you have. In unofficial meetings with management, since a long time ago, first generation cosmonauts, we always say, reporting, backup crew reporting here, we are not prepared to take the place of the prime crew. So I would like to say that we're not prepared to take your place at this time. For training, everything has been done for the crew to be prepared, to be trained, and we do a lot of things to ensure that we don't have to use the backup crew. But you know, there's a tradition that at the final stages of the preparation, the crews are always traveling separately and on different airplanes, different vehicles. So we take the safety measures up until the moment when we deliver the crew to the launch pad, where the crews are delivered on different buses in case something should happen, which is difficult to imagine.
Question is for Hadfield again. You're spending a lot of time in space, more than 5 months. And away from everything, what will you miss the most? And also, what have you planned for Christmas and New Year's Eve? If you can also answer in French as well, if possible.
Je pense en français brièvement. Pour le Noël, c'est une surprise, j'espère, pour l'équipage déjà en orbite, mais je vais avoir quelque chose comme petit cadeau pour le Noël. Et pour nous, nous avons un repas, un dîner prêt. C'est pas exactement le même ici comme sur Terre, mais c'est une date importante pour nous autres. The first part was what are we preparing for Christmas? I hope the crew on board doesn't hear about this in the media, but I'm bringing some small gifts and surprises up for the crew that's already up there so we can celebrate Christmas together. And of course, we have a Christmas meal planned. It's not as good or the same as a meal here on orbit at Christmas time, but it is still just as important, and it's an important tradition, and we will be sharing it together as a crew. Et aussi, une deuxième partie de la question, c'était les 5 mois. Peut-être pour moi, le plus important partie, c'est le dernier 3 mois quand je vais avoir la chance d'être commandant. Et je sais bien que nous sommes le 35e équipage dans la station, et donc c'est pas une chose absolument importante pour tout le monde, mais pour nous autres, c'est important, et pour moi, personnellement, c'est important. Et c'est à cause, c'est une des motivations d'être préparé, de faire les préparations depuis des années. Et donc, c'est une expérience comme première fois de ma vie. Et donc, pour moi, c'est peut-être la chose la plus importante d'être là-bas depuis pendant cette temps-là. I understand very well that we are actually Expedition 35, but we are not the only space station expedition. And I understand the relative importance. We have to do our job properly, and it has to fit into the long-term perspective. But for us, it is our expedition. We work hard to get ready for it, and we will do our part as best we can during our 5 months up there. For me personally, it is, of course, the time that I'm going to be asked to command is for me personally a very important part of my life. And the reason we prepared so hard, and one of my great motivations, has been to prepare to have the opportunity to command the space station during my last few months. It's very important personally and professionally for me.
One more question. For Fyodor, probably, again. After a crew member returns from the long-duration flight, I know at first you enjoy being back on Earth, and then how long does it take for you to start wanting to go back in space? For me personally, I can tell you that as long as you feel physically healthy and strong enough, you want to go back. For me, it was actually different. After the first flight, even when I was still in space, I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to land. The first question I asked my wife once I got back, I said, "Are you sure you were going to let me fly again?" And she said yes. And After the second flight, I think it took me a year to even start thinking about wanting to go back in space. Now, for the third flight, again, right after coming back, I wanted to go back. So to go back in space. I don't know. Maybe I'm too inconsistent. I don't know. I don't know. But again, 3 flights, 3 different moods and attitudes. Okay. Question: have you talked to your family about the long duration flight? A short duration flight is one thing, but to be in space for so long, that's something completely different.
Yes, I did discuss it with my family. I have a young son. He will be 3 when I launch, which makes it very difficult. But I think in the grand scheme of life, in the future, when he looks back at it and can say what his mother did, he will be very proud. And my husband is also an astronaut, so he knows exactly what I'm going through. And so they very much support me.
I would like to add that in Karen, they really have, in Karen's family, they do great. They both feel responsible for little Jack, but Jack only knows one word, no. So we call him Mr. No at this time. Dear friends, again, I mentioned that we have a very busy schedule today, and so let's start wrapping up. Your last chance to ask questions.
Chris Hadfield for NASA TV and for the Canadian Space Agency. What is your favorite Russian tradition linked to a space flight, and why? If you could answer in English and French, please.
Вопрос Кейсу Hadfield и, в принципе, всему канадскому космическому агентству. Какая у вас любимая российская традиция перед космическим полетом?
I think it's very important to celebrate major events. We do it right across all societies here on Earth. Births and marriages and birthdays and historical days, we celebrate them. Tradition and a chance to gather together and recognize where we are in history, to me, is an important part of understanding where we are and who we are as people. And therefore, for me, my favorite part of flying in space are, in fact, the traditions, the things we do beforehand. And today, we go into Gagarin's office, and we here at Star City, a historic place, and we sign in a book that is, it's a tradition. It's just something that we do, but at the same time, it marks an event, and it is important, I think, for us to put things into perspective, that we have such markers, and to go into the office of the first human being to fly in space and to be part of that continuum. To me, is a very important traditional event.
C'est absolument important d'avoir les célébrations des choses importantes dans la vie ici sur Terre, les anniversaires, les dates importantes. C'est juste une partie grande d'être humain. Et pour nous, peut-être pour moi, le moment plus agréable, le plus important pour moi, c'est nous avons une chance dans le bureau, dans l'endroit de la première cosmonaute en orbite, la première personne qui est sortie de la Terre, Yuri Gagarin, écrire dans un livre là-bas, ensemble. Et c'est pas une chose importante, mais en même temps, c'est quelque chose d'importance pour faire ça ensemble, comme une perspective historique, avec peut-être tout entre ensemble en préparation pour un voyage comme ça.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, last question. Going back to the research that will be performed on board of the ISS, I wanted to clarify regarding the experiments from the school children who send their experiments in space. Are you planning to do the students' experiments, children's experiments in space? I know that from time to time Cosmonauts perform experiments that are developed by students from universities. Again, those are engineering technical experiments. For example, the effect of weightlessness on materials. We have small boxes with samples, and under the influence of various radiation and weightlessness, they begin to change their shape. So this whole process is videotaped, and then these materials come back to Earth. Or just the video is received on the ground for further research and for confirmation of the fact that various materials behave differently in weightlessness, different from what we see on Earth. For our flight, we have not. No, we have one. Actually, that's the one I was talking about. We will study how this will be happening. We are planning to expand this experiment a little bit, and also from time to time we have ham radio sessions where we talk to students and school children. It's a very important part of our program, and it is exciting to see that the students are interested in talking to us and in learning more. Can you turn this around, please? Okay, friends, thank you very much for your questions. We would like to thank the crew for good answers.
Летняя резина. Это tire. Summer tire. Да. А, летний. Да. У меня есть инки. Большой флеш. Да. Я тебе спасибо. Get through the coach check? Yeah. So you get the code, they'll ask for the tickets to go to the bus. That's what I'm dressed like.
Can I have some money for Tiffany? Grace, take off the hat. Yes, ma'am.
That's got to come. Thank you.
И что пишет? Посмотри. Подсмотрите. Так, пожалуйста, сзади сторонние.
Члены семьи, я понимаю, они не видели, им это интересно. Чего? Ну, это 100 раз видели.
Да? Уехали. Да, поехали. Хорошо. Старинский поэт.
Федь, он же Тихий Дон пишет, что ли?
Говорил. Вперед. Вот. Нормально. Вперед.
Никогда.
Если достаточно. Нет, все. На следующий раз.
Да? Хорошо, хватит. Хорошо, закроем место. Закроем. Close it together.
Исторический.
Да, да, хорошо.
Historical moment.
Сейчас пирожки.
Точно? Точно?
Точно.
Уважаемые экипажи, спасибо.
Дублирующий экипаж. Спасибо. Теперь два экипажа вместе. Пожалуйста, внимание.
Конверты открытки вложили сюда.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Не доеду. Александр,
Надо было нам всем ходить. Дойти шапка, да, шапка. Зима. Рома, ты хатик сюда не надо, просто рядышком положи гвоздики и все.
Ну да.
Нам, пожалуйста, два экипажа вместе. Вычислили, это потом горцы.